Hello, everyone. Here's Sappho in the woods, and Marlene in the woods. And if you look out now in the yard, it's very, very nice and very, very sunny. And earlier today, it was extremely cold. Winter has come. It is frost in the morning, frost at night, and in my little house, it is 10 degrees Celsius. Uh, why can't you just warm up your house? I can sometimes. I can warm it up by making a fire in my two stoves. But the cold comes in from outside. And why does it do that? It does because my house is very old. And the cladding, the boards on the outside, on the facade, they consist of almost just the slim paint that we use up here in Sweden. There's almost no wood left in those boards. They're rippled completely. So, and behind them are just the horizontal logs, and there's no insulation whatsoever. And then boards on the inside here. So, um, the cold goes right through them. And what couldn't you just fix it? Yes, someday when I win the lottery, if I start playing the lottery. But yeah, that's what I try to think of, how to make money to save up a bit so that I can make new cladding and insulation on the house. That would help a great deal. But when it's only in the morning, it's frost, then we'll survive. I have my long johns. I have a warm dog who needs a lot of walks. So we go out walking. And we have just come home now from a very long walk. And what I wanted to show you was my breakfast, which is my lunch, which also serves as a dessert very many times. It's extremely Danish. And I know that I have viewers that are not Danish. So for your sake, I'm going to show you this. What it's called is øllebrød. Ew, that looks disgusting. Yes, it does, and it tastes wonderful. It is rye bread, stale rye bread. It's not moldy, of course. It's stale rye bread. You put it in a pot with some water, leave it overnight so that the rye bread gets mushy, wet and mushy, and then you boil it up. I use this one to smash it with. Boom, 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 boom. Some people would like that one to make it all fine and even. I don't care that there are a few. It's just seeds from the bread that's in it. I like it. And sugar in it. And then normally you would use orangecest. I don't have that, and I don't like to buy oranges now because they don't really smell that good. I think they're old from last year's season. So I don't buy oranges now. I wait until December or around that when the new harvest comes. I don't know if it's true. It's just an idea that I have. I think they smell old in the stores. I'm not buying them yet. But I had lemons, so lemon zest goes as well. So I just grind up half a lemon or so and mix in at the end. I don't boil it in, then it gets bitter. And then you get it with whipped cream. Now, I have just learned how to make coffee foam. So I whipped up some coffee foam first and then put in my cream. So I get a little bit of coffee on my øllebrød, on my bread. And then you pour milk in it as well. You're very careful when you eat it because it's extremely hot. It makes like a little skin on top here. And if you just dig into it, this is boiling hot because it's sugar. And sugar, when sugar boils, it gets a lot hotter than boiling water. Never mind. You have to eat it warm, of course, but not scald your mouth. And then with whipped cream and or milk on it. And that's a very, very, very hearty, healthy breakfast. Some people think it's just food for children. I think it's good for everyone. And in Denmark, there's a love-hate relationship. Either you completely love it as an adult because maybe because it reminds you of the good childhood days and warm and, and everything. I love it. I always loved it. Also as a child. Some people don't, and I have German friends, and they think it's so weird because they don't have any emotions attached to it. All Danish people do, whether it's love or hate. Made out of rye bread, and rye bread is big in Denmark, has been for centuries, and maybe because we were peasants until the peasants were freed, and very poor peasants, and most peasants worked for the farmers, the big estates, which of course were owned by the barons and earls and the court and the judge, and themselves they just got a little lot of land. Now you could look at me instead of the øllebrød. They got a little plot of land where they should live, but they went every day to work for the farmers. But on that piece of land, they were allowed to have uh, grow potatoes or whatever, just to sustain themselves. And on those poor lands, because it was when we talk in the west of Jutland, it was very sandy and it was not rich soil. But rye can grow on those soils. The rich farmers, the big estates, of course, had the richer land and they could grow wheat because wheat takes a little bit more nourishment than rye. But rye can grow almost anywhere. And that's my theory. That's why they learned to bake bread out of rye. Uh, and even my grandmother, who was born in the beginning of the 1900s, they still, up into the 70s, 60s, and 70s, didn't call it a wheat bread. They called it a wheat cake. We're gonna have a wheat cake. It was like you would say toast in English, or the wheat bread. Franskbrød, we call it French bread. So it's wheat bread, but that was called wheat cake up until, yeah, the old people did still in the 60s and 70s. So that shows you a little bit about how luxurious it was. It wasn't an everyday meal. It was porridge and it was rye bread, and they grew a little bit of barley as well because that's also can grow on poorer lands to brew beer. Now that was not strong beer, but that was good beer, and it kept you warm because there was a little bit of alcohol in it. And every farm brewed their own, or every little homestead brewed their own beer. And the children was fed beer, and there was beer in øllebrød, because øllebrød means beer bread. I boil it up with water, but normally you would pour in a whole or a half of hvidøl, which is white beer, this foamy Christmas beer thing that's not very strong, hasn't got very many percentage of alcohol. But that's what it goes in. So it's called beer bread. And it gives itself the beer you had and the rye bread you had, and the rye bread got stale, and then you just put it together and made a dessert. Now there's sugar in mine, quite a lot of sugar. I'm not sure they did have white sugar. They had sugar from beets probably, or they used honey to sweeten it with. Maybe it wasn't as sweet as it is today. I don't really know that. But that's my øllebrød. I'm going to have it now because now it's cooled down enough and the weather has heated up enough so we can sit outside and have our breakfast, lunch thing. And I was thinking about the viewers I have from the United States. I know it's no King's Day today, and I wish you all a very peaceful, happy protest. I believe in you should protest against fascism, absolutely. I'm not going to name names, but I think that the fascism is a very dangerous path to walk for anyone, even for those in power. It never ends good. Fascism is not a good idea. So be out there, show your anger, show them you're protesting against what is seen as authoritarian takeover of power, because nothing good comes from that. Be nice to each other, be safe out there, and happy No King's Day with øllebrød in my peaceful forest. Bye bye, everyone. See you on the next one.